गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे So we saw in the 9th verse, as in mukti and jnana, as in liberation and self-knowledge, there is no difference between man and woman. The body of a woman liberated during life is not to be cremated, for it is a temple. Just like hunger for a woman and a hunger for man. Hunger is same, isn't it? Breathing for a woman and breathing for a man, it is the same thing. Walking for man or walking for woman is the same. Seeing is the same for both. Hearing, all the five senses, thinking is all same. Exactly the same way. Liberation also is same for man and woman. And the self-abidance in the self-knowledge or self-knowledge, when we use the word self-knowledge, it is not to be understood through words or through thoughts. Self-knowledge is the poise, the abidance in the self as the self without a thought or in spite of a thought. That is what we are talking, and that is possible in both man as well as woman. So get this idea out of our head. If it is lingering that woman is in any way lower or not qualified or is not to be. Now we'll talk about the cremation. The question that was asked, whether she should be buried or cremated, then now we'll talk, in the next chapter we'll talk about the Jivan Muktas, and there you will see. But here, through his example of his wife, of his mother, he has shown that woman can also, because her body was a temple. How is it a temple? When you do Rudram, you know Rudram. Rudram is a chant for Lord Shiva. But before you do it, or any puja, what do you do? Nyasam. Prajana. And in that, you invoke the gods in this body. So, this idea that you are in this world and you are at the mercy of these five elements, you are at the mercy of these gods, this is taken away. Power has to come back to you. You are the most powerful. You are the power. Imagining that you are not powerful. You have the infinite potentiality, but you are imagining that I am only having limited potentiality. And for that, if you do puja, where it says, Prajanane Brahma tishtatu, Padayor Vishnus tishtatu, Hastayor Haras tishtatu, Hridaye Shivas tishthantu. So each part of your body is taken and an aspect of divinity as it is expressing there is invoked. So our scriptures say the sun is in the right eye, the moon is in the left eye, the Ashwini Kumars are the nostrils, the Dik, the 10 directions are your ears. Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, is at the tip of your tongue, and so on. It goes all over. So it's not that I am purifying my body. No, your vision must get transformed, that what is in the microcosm is present here in the micro, in this individual. And instead of living in fear of gods, instead of living in fear of the five elements, space, air, fire, water, earth, you start taking your power back, that you are the powerful. If you did not have this disposition that temple is a powerful place, would you go there? You go there because you feel there is God there. Even though it is all stone and statues and rock, but you go with so much devotion. And here there is a living temple and there is divinity within. which is closer than the temple outside. You spend so much money, you trek for so long, and then अच्छा पहुंच गए यार केदारनाथ 12,000 or Kailash, and breath is not coming. It's so beautiful. Huh? This is our lot. If you have to put that energy and efforts, why not put it for that divinity which is inherent? Why you are searching it outside? Because till today, searching outside, nobody has got it. Nobody. And this you will come to know only by reading the stories of saints and sages. Nobody has found it outside. Then where have they found it? Within. And our system, the puja, the prayers, they give you the power back. But you have to recognize it is a secret. If you had not known it till today, now the secret is revealed. That is what happens in satsang. See? And then you don't have to do anything. You start accepting it. Expansion will begin. Abilities will come. People will recognize this is a temple. You will not say, now I am a temple. Brahmaji is here, Vishnu is there, Rudra is there, Sun God is here, I control them, big ego. Then you will be killed like Ravana. With ego, he controlled the entire universe with all the gods. They were at his beck and call. Then Ram had to come and finish this big ego called Ravana. With willpower, he controlled them. So here we are not into willpower. We have to recognize that is our natural state. We are never divorced from that divine power. We are never divorced from that divine principle. Only recognition is required. And for that recognition, our thought must go in the right direction. Where are our thoughts going? Into the world. Where they need to go? Towards the divinity. I think of God. Where do you think of Kailash in Tibet? Where is Kailash? In our heart. You see? So if you want to deal with your wife, instead of dealing with the wife as a woman outside or a husband as a man outside, you deal with the Shakti within. Respect the power that you have within. Power is Shakti, Shakti is feminine. You respect it. Automatically, you don't have to do anything. Automatically that respect for the power within will start being displayed outside without you knowing. Same with the same with the other way. Instead of going into man, woman, you respect the Purusha, the principle, the conscious principle within. Your respect for the men outside will automatically express. Where is that? Because everyone is made up of both. And this, our Ramana Maharishi's mother, when he declared that she is the temple of God, not only declared, he considered it like that. I already told you, for 5 years before she took Samadhi, he gave her that initiation. And we'll talk about that initiation part and the different, the Jivan Mukti part in the next chapter. Now in the 10th verse he says, we did till 9th, isn't it? Yeah. Ye dosha dehadahane pumso muktasya sansmritaha muktaya santi te sarve dehadahe cha yoshitaha. Where whatever evils are said to follow the cremation of the body of a man liberated during life will follow even when the body of a woman liberated during life is cremated. What is the evil? An opportunity lost, a temple destroyed. How come? or it was giving, it was giving vibration. It was a recognition that it was a that he was a realized master or person, but you have burnt it away. What happens when you burn it away? Then all, what is this body made up of? Space, air, fire, water, earth. What happens to these five elements? When you burn, they go back and merge into the total. They go and merge back into the total. Now that energy is dispersed. That vibration is dispersed now. How will it be available? Where it is samadhi, there it is available, no? You have to experience that to know. See, why have we come for a retreat here? Why can't we do retreat outside? Why can't we do it outside? Why we have to have a walled space? Because we can sit comfortably. He was telling me, outside it's very windy, very chilly. So I came and he sat upstairs. So that's why we are inside. And because it is suiting our requirements, oh, and beautiful view, so, oh, a very, very divine place, very wonderful place. So many words we are using for that, isn't it? If you find that divinity and that beauty within this, then this will become a beautiful place. Then you will start respecting this body. Then you will start respecting what type of thoughts are coming. Then you will start respecting what you eat, how much you eat. Then you will start respecting what you get involved in and what you should not get involved in. You will start respecting how much to speak and how much not to speak. In every aspect of your life. But for that you have to respect yourself. Not as a person. Respect your potential and respect the Purusha or the conscious principle. So respect your power and the wielder of the power. Both are within. See? So these things, then you don't have to, don't steal, don't collect, accumulate, all those that are told in yoga. You don't have to do all that. It will automatically start happening because you are respecting yourself. And not yourself as a body, but yourself as the one without a second. And in this way, that in liberation there is no differentiation as regards the sex is concerned, male or female, and burning a realized person while living is equal to burning a temple of worship. So that is the sin that is accrued. You may not know. So if you don't ever burn a temple, this is our problem. So people keep giving things, for some person I went, where did we go? I went to some ashram in Gujarat. Every year, twice a year, he sends me the photograph of that Devi, Tulsa Bhavani from Baroda. Now, I got such a big stack. What do I do with it? I can't throw it in the garbage also. No, it's only paper. Bhagwan is in my heart. I don't care. I will throw it. I've gone to the bin many times. But doesn't allow. Doesn't allow. The sanskars, how we have been brought up to respect, it doesn't allow. Just considering it a paper. Paper embossed with goddess's photo, paper becomes divine. Now if you are embossed inside, outside, everywhere by the divine, and you are not considering yourself to be divine, who will help you then? So in this manner, No, but people say he is liberated, other people say he is not liberated. Let's do a democratic vote. Is it a democracy? Is it by how many people are going to say he is realized? A person gets declared realized. This is all foolish. Continuing. एकविंशे हि गीतो भूत् यमर्थो मनीषिणा अधिकृत्य ज्ञानवतीं रमणेन महर्षिणा. He says the wise Ramana Maharishi elucidated these points regarding a woman, Jnani, on the 21st day of August 1917. This is the 13th. इति श्री रमण गीतासु ब्रह्म विद्यायां योग शास्त्रे रमणान्ते वासिनो वासिष्ठस्य गणपते रूपनिबंधे संन्यासे स्त्री पुरुषयोस्तुल्य अधिकार निरूपणं नाम त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः. This is the 13th chapter entitled Woman Eligible for Sannyas in the Sri Ramana Gita, the Science of Brahman and the Scripture of Yoga, composed by Ramana's disciple Vasishtha Ganapati. So there should be no doubt now in our mind, because the Master has told us. Now the next topic that begins is Jivan Mukti. What is liberation? Or I don't know how it is going to unfold. Let's see. Chaturdashodhyayaha Jivan Mukta Vicharaha means contemplation on liberation while living. Jivan Mukti is liberation while living, not posthumous. Now, in this regards, he says, निशायामेकविंशे हि भारद्वाजो विधांवरः प्राज्ञशिश्वकुलोपाधिः वैदर्भो वदतांवरः. On the night of the 21st August 1917, wise Bharadwaja Vaidarbha, born in the Shivakula family, great among the learned, well versed in speech, questioned the Maharishi on Jivan Mukti, and in the hearing of all, the Maharshi replied. So, this important is also, is it a stupid donkey who is asking the questions? Here it is told all the qualification. Born in the Shivakula family, great among the learned. So he was already a Pandit or Shastri or well versed in the scripture, maybe an adept in his sadhana also, recognized by others, a force to reckon with. Well versed in speech, he knew how to use the speech, not to condemn, not to find faults. Just like the wife before knew that she should ask the question through her husband to be presented to Ramana Maharishi. Same way, how do we address a question? How do we address? In Akhandanandji Maharaj, one Swamiji says, one day he was in Calcutta and he was lying there and so many people, Swamiji, Swamiji, Guruji, 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 so many. And people, some people are taking photographs, some people are asking questions, and is such a big cacophony going on. And people are asked, in that people are, Swamiji, I want to ask this question about my family. Swamiji, I want to ask this question about my sadhana. Swamiji, I want to ask my question about Brahman. Swamiji, I want to ask my question, what is the duty of a husband or a wife? Something like that. So like that, 10, 15 questions were asked. And a common person standing there would not come to which questions were asked. They are not even available to that. people putting malas, garland around his neck, someone touching his feet, and he's just lying there like that. And after all this commotion was over, he said, stop. He said, in all this, there were some questions asked. And he says, there were, say, for example, I don't know how many exactly, say 10 questions were asked. And those 10 questions, Swamiji says, that he repeated those questions in such a manner that while repeating the questions, each person got their answer. That is the art of speech. And here we are, we want to just tell, hey, peel the potato. Hey, can you, aage to bol, hey, potato, but don't take the small, don't take the big one, don't take it, or cut it in this way, no, cut it in that way, no, use the knife, no, don't use the knife, don't use the peeler, no, use the peeler, bite it out. There's no end to. One job we want to tell or want to do, how many options we give ourselves and get confused. Observe yourself, don't look at others who is doing it. Observe yourself, how we are culprits of this. No clarity, no focus, no poise. That Akhandanandji Maharaj was sitting in the middle of the world. Everyone is doing what they want. He can't even react because he's got elephantiasis, poor fellow. But in that entire episode, he heard the questions, he answered the questions in the briefest possible use of language. This is how Sanskrit also is. Our Sanskrit language also keeps collapsing the sentences as much as possible so that minimum expenditure of energy is there. Minimum expenditure of energy. So here the topic that questioned the Maharishi, well versed in speech, questioned the Maharishi on Jivan Mukti. Whom can you ask a Jivan Mukti? Not persons like us. We can only talk. Then who will ask about Jivan Mukti? Who is a Jivan Mukta? Who is liberated? You should ask that person. That will be the worthy. In front of a Jivan Mukta Purush, a liberated person, you go and ask, my child is not getting married, please bless me. What will he say? What will he do? Is that the topic that you should ask? That why difficulties are coming in my life? I worked so hard, my business is not becoming successful. Is this the question you should ask in front of liberated masters? Oh, Swamiji, please touch me. I am having pain here. I know if you touch, it will go away. And he says, no, if I will not touch you. No, I am going to take your hand and touch it on my head. And the Guru Maharaj is running in front and the devotee is running. I want you. If you don't, I will catch it and put it on my head. And those situations are also there. I have seen it. One person in Haridwar, like this group I had gone, and one lady came, I don't know from where, fell at my feet, touched my head, ordering me. I will not touch. Hey, you have to touch. I said, no, why? I said, no. And she, before I could catch what was going on, she caught my hand and put it on her head. Belief. Some people believe if someone says something, it will happen. And some people believe that when we say something, nothing will happen. Isn't it? Ah. So the topic is of Jivan Mukti, and Jivan Mukti is liberation while living. And what is liberation while living? Liberation while living is where the knot of the heart. What is the knot of the heart? This identification of consciousness with matter, and operation is, dissection is done. That consciousness is separated from the matter. Divorce is brought about, not forcibly, but with understanding. Forcible divorce will be going to the court, passing the order, and separating from your husband or wife. And after that, whole life keep thinking about that person. So what divorce? This is not divorce. Divorce is that you drop one person in our Auckland. If we went to his house, we came to know afterwards that his wife ran away with a Lebanese fellow. So he said, "Acha!" And that year, in December, January, summer holidays, they were supposed to go back to India, and their daughter was going to get married. So this woman ran away with a Lebanese fellow, and he went. He says, "Wife ran away." 1 or 2 days he was, how can this happen? I've got all the people are there. What will people say in marriage? This, that, blah, blah. After 2-3 days, he sorted himself out. He said, forget it. He went for the marriage. In the same marriage ceremony, he also got married with them. So his daughter got married, and he also got married and came back to Auckland. He said, "You say what people want to say, you say. But I am not going to cry and complain because of the deeds of my wife." He didn't say run away from me. He didn't say that I am not taking care of. Everything was going well. But he refused to be miserable. Your idea that, oh my God, how can he marry another one? How can he marry the same time when his daughter is getting married? That is all your issues. His issue was, I am not going to live a miserable life because of someone else's actions. I deserve happiness. He chose and he's happy. He's happy. And what about society? Who cares? They didn't tell her to not go. Then who are they to tell me what I should do or not do? देखो सोचने वाली बात है. So, disidentification of the consciousness from the matter. And this is happening on daily basis. Every night when you go to sleep, consciousness is separating from matter. That's why your body becomes heavy when you go to sleep. If someone is lifting you. Huh? That is why in sleep, if suddenly you have a bladder pressure and you want to go, the body feels so heavy, you are drowsy and what happened? Because you are not identified with the body. You lose the balance. Now we have to bring this about consciously. Next verse says, Jivan muktim samuddishya maharshim pariprushtavan atha sarveshu shunvatsu maharshir vakyam abravit. Oh, it is already the second part only. The first, what I read is the Maharishi says. In hearing of all, the Maharishi replied. What did he reply after having heard this person, this questioner? Ramana Maharishi himself is a Jivan Mukta Purush. And when did he become a Jivan Mukta Purush? Some say when he was in the cave, some say the moment he had the out of body experience, he became a Jivan Mukta Purush. What is Jivan Mukta? A recognition, that you are not the body while living. How many of you had out of body experience? Came to know who has and who doesn't. You don't have to put your hand up. Huh? Every one of us has. We forget because we don't know. We don't have the data to recognize. Right? Yeah. But there are certain experiences that have some people, they can invoke it. They can invoke it.
So that's a temporary experience. That's a temporary experience.
What?
After body experience.
How you interpret it. If you have followed, if you have had an experience of out of body experience as a result of invoking the power, Shakti, Kundalini, or pranayam, or japa, or whatever, then it is temporary. But when out of body experience is happening as a result of understanding and knowledge, then there is no going back. This is the difference. Then there is no going back. Then Ramana Maharishi, he had out of body experience. Did he go back to being the body? No. He continued his journey so that he gets established in it. And all of us are having, as you said, split second it's happening, but that was so ecstatic. Asha, what is there for dinner? Out of body experience. And next thought is, what is there for dinner? Something is missing in our process. So this problem comes when we are following the Shakti path. But when we are following the path of knowledge, and path of knowledge doesn't mean path of thought knowledge. We are talking about knowledge being the self-knowledge. You are focused on the self. Maharishi had not studied any books. Ramana Maharishi, he had not studied any books. He had not read any scriptures. He didn't have a guru to guide him. But in that split second, it also happened as a split second because he saw a dead body passing by. Buddha also saw a dead body, and he did not have a out of body experience, but it lit a spark. Then what happens after death? Or then who am I? His approach is, but his 6 years of pursuit were to get established in that. Ramana Maharishi's, how many years, I don't know, till he was found in the cave. It was, he searched, he explored that what was that happened. Now that I know that I am not the body, like you come in this class, we tell you, and all of you are nodding. If you are nodding, which means you have understood. But then why do you live contrary to your understanding? A seeker is who does not sabotage his understanding. He remains committed to it, come what may. Like in Indian marriages, husband and wife, once they married, come what may, they continue to remain committed to each other. No question. So same way here, are we committed? So if it has happened, out of body experience, and out of body experience, again, one is understanding, one is of actual physical experience or subtle experience of you getting sucked out of the body. These things also people say, and people have experienced it. Okay. And what did Raman Maharishi do? He played dead. Acha, what is this dead fellow? What is death? He lay dead in his bed. In that moment of laying dead, playing dead game, he had an out of body experience. Acha, if this is I am seeing my body, then if I am other than body, then who am I? Question. It is a natural question that will come to you. Natural question. See? And that made him, that prompted whatever happened in his life after. But he never let go of that experience, that knowledge, that understanding. So he has come to know that I am other than the body. Because after that, mind clicks in. Just like you have, in your mind only you are accepted. Now I am a wife. Now I am a student here in a class. It's only an acceptance. Same way, you accept because something happened, that click happened, you had some understanding happened and you accepted, I am not the body. Yes, there is no data to prove that I am the body for a person who is pursuing knowledge. But in Raman Maharishi's case, direct experience, I am not the body, then who am I? And it became a raging fire within his heart and bosom. And it didn't allow him to sleep that night. It kept him awake. Is our search for the truth keeping us awake at night? Our search for truth is ice cream left with mangoes. That is our search for truth. Come here, talk a little bit, and then ice cream with what Jivan Mukti? What liberation? It has to be, you have to be on fire for that. Like Raman, then it will be yours forever. It is always yours, but you have to recognize it, how much hard work and tapasya, austerity, sacrifice, commitment, compromises you are doing in your married life. Even more is required to remain with the thought that I am other than the body. Oh my God, the next life. No. In this life, to such a person who has lived his life only for the self, it will be an appropriate question. He is the right person to ask the question. So in this manner, in the third verse he says, Shastriyairlokikaischapi pratyayairavichalita swarupe sadrisha nishtha jivan mukti rudahruta. In the third verse he says, Jivan Mukti is firm abidance in being, not in becoming, in being. Unaffected by scriptural or worldly ideas. This is very important. Our problem is, we study scripture after scripture after scripture, we listen to scriptures after scriptures after, it becomes an euphoric, it becomes ecstatic. That was so wonderful, it was so nice, Swamiji spoke so nice. I also listen to my Swamiji every day. You also listen, I also listen. Some of you listen to hear me also, to him also. Bhagavad you all attend. But it becomes so much. And one must not give it up. One must not give it up. But in Raman Maharishi's life, scriptures didn't come, Guru didn't come, Satsang didn't come, only dead body came. That became a Satsang for him to duplicate the experience of a dead person. How it catches you, it's his will. Maybe you will come to realize eating ice cream and mango. Who knows?
We wish, Swamiji.
I
We wish.
don't wish. Let it happen. Because when you start wishing, ice cream will finish. Ice cream will finish.
The first spoon itself realized.
Ah, good.
Already have realized that.
Such abidance, what did it say? Jivan Mukti is firm abidance, steady abidance in being, unaffected by scripture or worldly ideas. So these are the two things that we have to take care of. What is that? First is worldly ideas. No thoughts of the world. Thoughts of the world, what is thoughts of the world? Everything. Huh? Eating ice cream and mango, yes. That was true. But more so, anything outside you, world is not only, when we say relations and possessions, that is only this world. What about dream? What about seeking out deep sleep every day? I need to refresh myself, go to sleep. That is also a world. So our world is waking, dream, deep sleep and samadhi. Samadhi also. Because there also you go in and come out. So this is world. World does not mean only the waking experience. It means waking, dream, deep sleep and samadhi. And we have to get out of it. We cannot allow these worlds to influence and dictate as to who we are. In the waking, you are the waker. In the dream, you are the dreamer. In the sleep, you are the sleeper, but you don't know that. After waking up, you say, I was sleeping. In meditation also, you don't know anything. When you come out, you say, I was in meditation. Actually, you are sleeping. But it's okay. You have mastered the art of sitting straight and go to sleep. Other people think you are meditating. Who else does like that, you know? Donkey and a horse. They also stand and sleep. Didn't know? Now you got information. So many people fool themselves that they are meditating. But they are not meditating, they are sleeping. If you are not conscious in meditation, you are sleeping. If you come out of meditation and you say, I know I was, but I don't know, then it's okay. Then it is, you are aware. But I don't know, I was sucked in, I was deep in meditation. Gone to sleep. I'm saying because we have gone through this. But you have to keep applying and keep catching yourself. What we were talking upstairs. So our what do you call, abidance. See, really speaking, before we were talking about that we are all realized, someone said we are all the time in that zone. But we don't know. I am saying. So the gap between I and am was small. The gap between am and saying was a bit extended. There was no thought between I and am. There was empty. Absence. And between am and saying also there was absence. Were you there or not there? You were there. Or you were absent. What was absent? Thought was, not just I thought. Thought was absent. Thought can be of two types. I thought or not I thought. So, between the two thoughts there was absence, but did you feel anything missing? No. Thought was absent. You were not absent. Now try to recreate. And this is happening. How many thoughts do you think in one day? So many, millions of them. So how many times that point between the two thoughts where there is no thought and you are awake is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So how many times you are having Nirvikalpa Samadhi in a day? Thousands of times. But do you recognize? So this intermittent coming, going, coming, going, coming, going, coming, going keeps us in the loop. We have to get out of that. We have to try to make it, what did we say before? Firm abidance, steady abidance in that state. Steady abidance. And when we do such steady abidance, you know what will happen? Then you will bypass Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Then you will not go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi happens only because you are still identified with body. In other words, you are still identified with the world. Let's say put body or put world. But you are seeker. You want to have some, I was going to say extraterrestrial experience. No, transcendental experience. But you have not given up your identification with the body. You have not given up your identification with the world. But you do some tapasya, you do some exercises, you do some pranayam, you do some focused approach, and you can come to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It's temporary because body identification has not been sorted out completely. So when we say Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para, waking, dream, deep sleep and Nirvikalpa Samadhi, truth is beyond these four. So for that, what do you have to do? This is what, that when we remain conscious, not of the emptiness in the mind, that now I am not thinking of anything, nothing is disturbing me. We are not conscious of absence, but we are conscious of the self as the being, as the infinite principle. Then we bypass the Nirvikalpa Samadhi also. Not only Nirvikalpa, then you bypass all the four in one go. And it has to happen only once. But it happens many times. Oh, that was something else. It can, because if it happens once, then there is Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti doesn't happen many times in a lifetime. How many times you are going to die and get liberated? No, it is once and for all. Everything else is still with identification. It's the lulling of the mind or lulling of the intellect that is taking place. So here he says that this firm abidance, so this intermittent abidance which comes as which can be called as Nirvikalpa Samadhi, either you take it as an event as a result of your efforts, or you can recognize as a principle which is happening all the time, between two thoughts, between two breaths, between every blink of your eye, between everything that is taking place within you. Wherever two things are there, in between, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is there. You are there. Where nothing is expressing, yet you are. And we have to, and it is important that to go beyond waking, dream, deep sleep, you have to invoke the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You have to focus yourself, and it is not that you want Samadhi. You are only doing focus on something higher, and the resultant is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. If you focus on the self also, in between, first Nirvikalpa Samadhi will come to some people, majority of the people. Very few are there. Otherwise, Ramana Maharishi did not have to sit. So he got the experience that I am other than the body. You know that you ate the food, the breakfast, were tummy full. After 12 o'clock, after this class, ice cream and mango again. Again, hunger. So, having an experience that I am not the body is not, it is I am not the body. It is not I am all that there is. Understand? So, it is an temporary experience. It will pull you. The body has that I am pervading in and through this body, that I am the conscious principle that with other than which nothing else is, everything else is a whatever. I'm not going to put too many words to it. Till that does not happen, you will keep going back to the body. And even after realization, you will keep going, waking, dream, deep sleep, waking, dream, deep sleep, meditation, it will keep going on. Because that's the nature of the body and mind. That's the nature of body and mind. But are we slipping into body and mind, or are we staying with the consciousness, as the consciousness, being the consciousness? Question is this. For that, for some people it clicks straight away. For some people it's a slow process, a gradual process. Takes a little bit of time. As purification takes place, more and more abundance comes. As you become more focused, more available, you don't allow yourself to be distracted by anything, then abundance, more and more time you are spending with yourself as yourself. And you think I am with myself as myself. But it is only at the intellect level. Because once it really happens, it's all over. And that's what happened in the life of Ramana Maharishi. That's what happened in the life of Mahatma Buddha. That's what happened in the life of Anandamayi Ma, even before she was married. And after marriage, her husband didn't understand her. Eventually he said, yeah, I give up. I become your disciple. At least love me as your disciple. Because she was, have you seen photographs of Ananda? She was very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. But anyone having a wrong thought about her used to get punished. Not by her, by the nature. And few times the husband tried, then he surrendered to her. Surrendered to her. We learn like that only, no? So, what is this abidance? We learn, Are yaar, fir slip ho gaya. Are yaar. You know, in some houses, one Pratima's house, every time you go, there is, when you go from one room to the other, there is this much height. And every time I hit my toe and I am in pain. Many of us have had that experience. Every time. And one day, when I started from home, today I'm going to be alert about it. Because satsang was in our house. I'm going to be alert. And that whole month we had it at her house. I think three classes I had. First one, I started with the right intention, but I forgot when the step came. This is what happens with us in our life also, no? This is what happens in meditation also. We begin with the right intention. Many people start on the journey of sannyas with the right intention. Then they get lost in disciples, ashrams, generating dakshina, feeding the poor. They have not realized, but they are lost in all that. This is how we do disservice to ourselves. Then again second time I jumped over it. Then third time again. But a few times before I had, same thing happens. He was saying he was lying down in the bed there on the sofa. He says, I'm trying to catch, I'm invoking sleep, but I'm not able to catch that point when the sleep begins. I'm not able to catch that point where the sleep begins. More alertness is required. I'm not able to catch that point where the sound in my mouth begins. Initially it will be difficult. Many times you will slip, but you keep practicing, it will come. There is no doubt about it, it will come.
Once you were saying, Swamiji, about the anesthesia, that I was going to an operation theatre, that before that I was going to catch the time when I pass out. I was really very, very attentive, but I couldn't. Still the same thing now.
You did that?
I did that, but
I also did that.
Yeah, but you were able to?
No, I can't. I was not.
Because then I remember
कच्चे खिलाड़ी हैं. Yeah, but before you can catch it, it was. But Neem Karoli Baba different. Took a whole packet of LSD. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And here, little bit of anesthesia, we are succumbing to it. He took the whole packet. Who was that fellow? I don't know if it was Beatles fellow. No, someone else. He was a professor from Harvard. No, maybe Ramdas. And he was taking every day one tablet. He says, Neem Karoli Baba knows everything. He says, what are you taking? He says, this, I am addicted to it. He says, what addiction? Addiction is only of the mind. Tomorrow when you come, bring I want to see what you are taking. So he brought the bottle. Maybe his whole 2 months stock was there. And he was Hanuman Bhakti, huge fellow. He took the bottle, swallowed the entire bottle of LSD tablets and continued. And he was saying that all these devotees are going to kill him because he gave him the bottle and he now is going to suffer. 1 minute, 10 minutes, half an hour, nothing happened. What is this? He has separated himself from the Prakriti. He has separated himself from the mind. So, but we are not like that, no? We keep succumbing. But what other choice do we have? Are we succumbing to it willfully? No, we are seekers. We want to know the truth. But default settings are there. Preoccupations are there. So they are pulling us again and again. And all we can do is keep putting efforts, keep trying consciously to catch that point, go beyond, and one day it will click. One day it will click. Like one day when I was a kid, I wanted to make chapati. And something, I don't know what came out. But over the years, practice. Now, perfect. And I'm teaching now to others. Isn't it in whatever your profession is, whatever your abilities are, only because you have worked towards it consciously, not unconsciously, consciously, then only perfection has come about, or your ability, your what do you call, oh, what is that word? Your proficiency in that has come about. Same thing in this also. There are no differences. In the fourth verse we saw, we read that, isn't it? No. Muktireka vidhaiva syat prajnanasya visheshataha sharirastham mukta bandham jivan muktam prachakshate. There are no differences in prajnana, transcendental awareness. Hence, mukti is of one kind only. One liberated while yet in the body is called a Jivan Mukta. In Bhagavad Mahapuran, in the Smriti Granthas, we see Salokya Mukti, liberation when you go to the heavens. Liberation is Sarupya Mukti, when you get the form of your beloved Lord, you become his Parshad. Salokya Mukti, you go to his abode. What is liberation? When I go to Kailash and live with Lord Shiva, I am liberated. When I go to Narayana and go and live in Vaikuntha, I am liberated. Some people want to go to the ashram and live with the Mahatma. They feel that is liberation. No, it is not like that. Again, coming back is there. You can be thrown out also if you misbehave. Isn't it? But these are what? So, Salokya, liberation with form, liberation without form, liberation with where the Lord is residing, and like that there are few different types. What are the different types? Maybe he is telling here, let's see. But here in this particular verse he is making one statement. Liberation is of one type only. There are no many liberations. There is no liberation. Liberation while living and liberation after death. Is it true? I am asking.
Is liberation, so then living or
How can after death you will come to know? How will you come to know after death?
there is no death? There is no.
See, intellectual drama is going on. Are you all liberated? But you are thinking of liberation and you are trying to work it out. So how will after death you will come to know he is liberated or not?
He was used only after that.
If you are there,
You are there all.
So then what is the need to say liberated while living then? If you say liberated while living, there is an opposite automatically.
When the body
Liberated
is-
after death.
The death in that sense only is the body dying, is not that they're talking about. Otherwise, while living means it's when the body is alive.
For
Otherwise,
whom?
For that, and for anybody, for other people talking. So not for
For the liberated one there is no body. And the one who is liberating after death,
After what is
is the body available to him?
you can never be liberated after death.
Will he come to know?
No.
He will not come to know.
Liberation happens only while living.
he's not.
Then how will a liberated while living come to know that he is not the body?
When we have got living in awareness with God.
Raj, appreciate her, man. She is so wise.
No, so also.
Puja karo. Liberation after death is only possible if the last thought is of the divine. Otherwise, it's not possible. You understood what I am saying?
Only possibility.
Pardon me?
Only possible. It's not
No, there is no question left, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Because if you take death as a principle, we are talking here of death as an event at the end of life. But if you take it as a principle, are you not dying right now? Every moment we are dying. But here we are taking as an event that one day when we stop breathing, this body stops breathing, is death. But who will be liberated after death? People talk about, oh, I will go to not Kashi, I will go to the heavens, whatever your idea of heaven is, I will be liberated. Some people say we go to Brahma Lok and we are liberated. Isn't it? Brahma Lok is the abode of the Creator. So are they? How will they get there? How will they get there? Simple answer. You know it.
Karma will take you.
Karma doesn't take you away. Karma is.
Your body.
If you do not have the last thought before you die of that where you want to go, you will not go there. If you do not have the last thought that I have to get up at 5:30 for meditation, you will not get up. If you do not have the last thought for whatever, if you do, try, go to sleep with a japa, some Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, you will wake up with that mantra. So if you go to sleep, go to, at the time of last breath, you have prepared yourself continuously
So your thought
with regards to the abidance. You are continuously thinking of Brahman alone, thinking of, now Brahman is the infinite, non-specific reality. God is the non-specific expressing as specific.
So it's your thought which decides.
So at that moment, isn't it? Here what are you collecting? Thoughts only. So what is how is understanding coming? Only because it's riding on the thoughts only, no? It's getting processed in your mind and you are getting convinced or not convinced. So same way, when you are so convinced that, and you know that you are not liberated till the last breath, you know you are there. But you are focused not on not liberation. You are focused that Aham Brahmasmi, by God's grace, by the infinite grace, let that be my abode. Abode, Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnamudachyate. Such a person will go there.
Even if he had led a sinful life.
Sinful, you cannot think of reality, you cannot think of divinity with the last breath if you have lived a sinful life. You cannot, the thought will not come, because mind only pops out whatever it has been programmed with. So if you are programmed with addiction to tongue, you will think of food only. Many people, before they die, they want to eat certain foods, isn't it? My grandfather, when he died, first he wanted a particular dal made by my mum in a particular way, because he wanted to taste that. After that, I was a brahmachari. So he was sitting like that all the time, not even blinking his eyes for a whole day. I said, so someone came, they went to visit him and they chanted Om Sahasra Shersha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasra. The moment they start chanting, he also starts chanting, but his eyes are blank. They're looking into blankness. But then they thought, oh, he is speaking. And then they'll say, oh, Anna, how are you? How are you feeling? No answer. Then they tried Akhanda Mandalakaram. He will start chanting Akhanda Mandalakaram. And then they came and told me something is wrong. We go. So I went in my all earnestness. I went to his right ear. In 15-20 minutes, I gave him the essence of Vedanta. And then I screamed in his ear, "Did you understand what I said? Or are you not understanding and I'm speaking to nobody there?" He turned around with those blank eyes. He turned this way. Because now, after telling all this, I came and stand. He looked at. Suddenly, the love that poured out of his eyes, you can't imagine. And he says, in Marathi, he said, "That's what I am doing." And went back into that point. These things you have to experience. Now that has created such a, that's the way to go. And when with his last breath, he was chanting Om. He left, he went, we were not there. But when we went, we took Ganges water, I parted his lips, put the spoon in, few drops, and in that, clinically he was dead, according to the doctors. This is at early in the morning at 5:30 or 4:30 in the morning. But I put the Ganga Jal into his mouth, I could feel his Adam's apple move as if he's swallowing, and in that one slight moment, oh, came and gone.
That's what I used to say, Hari Guru.
So what is this? This is how. So where would he have gone? Would he have gone to this world or that world or no? One are people, Jivan Mukta Purush, who are liberated while living. They're still having the body. But for whom is the body? Is it for them? Or is it for other people who are observing them? It's for other people. And the other type is those who become Jivan Muktas at the time of death, because they have lived their whole life only in the contemplation of that divine.
That's what I used to
Hmm.
Hari Guru, Hari Guru.
Yes. So that you will go to the Hari only, nowhere else. If that was the thought at the time of death. And this is, I'm just told you my mom's father, but I have come across another person. You know Jayashree? Jayashree's husband. He had the lung cancer. Within 4 months, he was gone. But before he went, he said, "Give me medicines, do whatever, reduce the pain, but keep me conscious. I don't want to die unconscious." And what was he doing for those 4 months? He was already a devotee. He was chanting the name of the Lord. And he, with the last breath, Jayashree was next to him. He left his body chanting the name. Where did he go? Must have gone to the abode of the Lord. So in this way, there is another person here. He was chanting Ram, 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 Ram continuously. Even in sleep he is chanting Ram in Melbourne. In sleep also Ram, 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 Ram going on. Now that there is no doubt, there will be no errors there. When he breathes his last, he will go to the abode of the Ram. Now, which abode? What is his interpretation of Ram? Is Ram the infinite, or is Ram with form? Is Ram with... Now, if it is what some idea that he has about Ram, then it is not liberation, according to Ramana Maharshi. But if he is chanting Ram, Ramana Maharshi also says Arunachala, Arunachala, but he doesn't see Arunachala as separate from the self. So if that person is chanting Ram and is not seeing the self as separate from Ram, ho gaya kaam tamam, then that is Jivan Mukti. Now this is the topic. This doubt, I told you a few things, but this is what he is expressing here. What's the time? 12:24 हो गया, तो ज़्यादा हो गया टाइम. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Just sit quietly for a few moments. Hari Om.